The best productivity frameworks that I found is the PARA framework or methodology by Tiago, Eisenhower's matrix of prioritization, the DISC personality test, and the R factor mindset.
It's an incredible way that makes a lot of mental sense to organize certain things by projects, by areas of responsibility, and by resources.
So if something's important and urgent, you do it. If something is important and not urgent, like Kyle said, you plan and schedule it. If something is not important but urgent, you have to delegate it. And if something is not important and not urgent, just eliminate it. The DISC framework.
Somebody took it and applied a bird style to it. Dominant is eagle, influence is parrot, conscientiousness is owl, and steadiness is dove.
The R factor mindset.
We are not in control of the events in our life, at least a lot of them. The only way you can control your O, which is your outcome, is by controlling your response. Here's the key message.
In this episode of Constructing Tomorrow, we have Kyle Nitchen. Kyle is a senior project manager at Layton Construction. He also runs a newsletter called as the Influential Project Manager, which is focused on principles, strategies, frameworks, and technology of successful project leadership. In this episode, we discuss the productivity frameworks that will help you excel and achieve more. It is PARA framework, Eisenhower's matrix, DISC personality test, R factor mindset, and much more. With that said, I bring you Kyle. Hi, Kyle. Thanks for being here and welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited specifically for this one because it's going to be packed with a lot of tips, tricks, hacks on how to be a good project manager, or I should say, influential project manager. So for those of you who don't know, Kyle also runs an awesome newsletter called as the Influential Project Manager. I'll drop down the Substack link in the description. Do check it out. He also posts a lot of great content on LinkedIn, so definitely check him out. How are you feeling today, Kyle?
I'm feeling great. We did a little talking before this, and I'm excited for the topics. We're going to get actionable tips, hacks, like you said, so that you can take these and apply them hopefully tomorrow.
Yeah. So I want to jump right in. I know you talk a lot about productivity, and I wanted to highlight a few productivity frameworks which I personally have used and found super helpful. And I just wanted to highlight those. So the the best productivity frameworks that I found is the PARA framework or methodology by Tiago. If you don't know Tiago, he's a big productivity guru. I think Ali Abdal is another one which I listen to a lot. The second one is the Eisenhower's matrix of prioritization, which we will also cover. The third one is the DISC personality test. And the fourth one is the R factor mindset. We'll go through all these four, starting off with Kyle, just to give some context. You are a project executive. You do a lot of stuff. You have your newsletter on your side. You do daily writing, coming up with ideas. How do you manage your time? And this will tie into our para framework, but I just wanted to understand from your perspective, how do you manage so many things at a single time?
Yeah. Yeah. So how do I manage a lot? It's through these productivity tools that we're getting into. Um, Starting with time blocking. Time blocking is probably the number one thing I do as far as managing my schedule. I use my calendar religiously. I have to. Um, and there are certain things that I front load at the beginning of the day, which is the first 2 hours of my day is like sacred time. That's where I have all my energy, and so I put my highest impact work, whatever that is, I front load it into the first 2 hours, and I'm doing deep work. I block out everything. It's sacred. It does not get interrupted by anyone or anything. Okay. Um, and so that could be writing, that could be something really critical that I need to do for projects, for owners, for whatever it may be. It's the highest leverage work that it's going to contribute to long-term success. Okay, it's not going to be something urgent. I can handle urgent things later throughout the day, but this is like long-term value stuff that has impact is the first 2 hours of the day, um, deep work. Okay, so that's kind of the foundation of how I structure things right there. The rest of the day is time blocked out, um, uh, via my calendar, and I do that at the beginning of the week on a Sunday. I'll map out what that looks like for the whole week, so I know what I'm walking into, and I know where my spaces are, so I can move around and throw things where they need to fall.
So the first productivity framework that I wanted to talk about is the PARA method, PARA, which stands for Project, Areas, Resources, and Archive. And this could be applied to your digital information, but also to organize your life. So, Kyle, if you're going to give a quick breakdown on how you have organized your life considering this framework.
Yeah, para something from Tiago, like you mentioned, is basically the framework that I use to organize all my digital information, including the stuff that's happening on projects, including the stuff I do online. It's all organized like that. And I use Notion as a database for all that. Okay, I love Notion. It's a browser, it's a tab on my browser that I have open all the time. And there's actually a really cool para um, template that I used. I got it from someone online, but yeah, basically, it's how you break down everything that is coming into your life, digitally, notes that you're taking, books you're reading, information, clips, web, blog posts, whatever. All the information that you're touching and organizing goes into this, and you break it down by separating out things by projects. Okay, so you have all these different projects. Whatever you're working on could be, for me, I got a newsletter project, I got a book writing project, I got uh, you know emergency department I'm building, surgery I'm building, MOB I'm building, all these things, right? So organize it like that. I also have another thing that I have is areas, is the all the domains of areas of your life. So I have like home, uh, latent construction, um, investments, all these different, you break down these things that you by area of responsibility. So that looks different for everybody. You got to figure out what are all these areas that I'm responsible for or that I'm interested in. Um, and then resources is just information, notes, books, whatever that digital piece of content is that you have is organized into those areas that we talked about or projects that we talked about. Um, and then archives is what it sounds like. It's just the archives of everything that is no longer relevant or complete or done. It's like a finished task, a finished project, a finished area that's no longer relevant. Um, that's how that's broken down. So it's an incredible way that's very makes a lot of mental sense to organize certain things by projects, by areas of responsibility, and by resources. Okay, so you only have those three things: project, areas of responsibility, and resources. There's nothing else outside of that.
Yep. I love the Notion mention. I've used it for over a year now. I absolutely love it. And to your point, that I think the archive feature is also important because so whenever I complete any of my tasks, I just drag it and put it in the archive. A good use case could be when you're doing your final end year reviews, you could just open that archive section and look at everything that you've accomplished in that year. Just makes it easier as well. So absolutely love Notion. I think go with if someone's new to the Notion world, I would go with a set template rather than creating your own because it kind of gets overwhelming at the beginning. But I absolutely recommend use of Notion. Um, the next productivity framework which I want to touch upon, and I still personally feel that I'm not good at it yet, is prioritization of tasks. When I first started, I used to just like when I used to get a couple of work, I used to just work on the recent one. Like, okay, someone asks me to do this. Okay, I'll leave what I have in my hand and start working on that. I used to not prioritize my work at all. And I've started to get better at it. And I really like this Eisenhower's matrix of framework where he kind of divides every task into essentially two things, which is important and urgent. And Kyle, I know you can go deep into this in terms of practical applications, but essentially what it says is all the tasks are divided into these two categories. And if a task, and you just basically make a matrix out of important, unimportant, urgent, and not urgent. So, Kyle, you want to take it forward from there?
Yes, yep, you set it up great there. Yes, the Eisenhower matrix. This is a simple framework. Four boxes, one box divided into four quadrants. Like you said, you have a box. Upper right is not urgent and important. Upper left is urgent and important, and then bottom left is urgent but not important, and then the bottom right is not urgent and not important. So those four categories are very good. It's like I don't even need to look at it more. It's imprinted into my brain. Um, it's just it's almost like defaulted now into it because I've just thought about this so much. And that's where you want to get to. Is this where am I? Because each of these signal different things. And let me tell you this. The leader, a leader, a very good leader, spends about 80% of his time in the upper right quadrant, okay, which is important but not urgent, okay? So what does that mean? They're thinking ahead, they're planning, they're working on things that matter in the future. Now, yes, every now and then they'll have a thing that comes in, it's urgent. There's a deadline, a client's asking for a, a bid, or you got to get meet this critical sign off date, and everything's urgent. So sometimes you got to drift over there, but the leader will only go work over there if it requires the expertise. So if that makes sense. So it's like me, the project leader, yeah, I need to make sure that this pay application is good. So I need to work on this. But say if it's writing an RFI, the RFI is very important. It's like it's important because it's related to a deadline or something that needs to happen like right now. But it doesn't require my expertise. I can delegate the RFI to somebody else, right? So I'm gonna that goes into the important but not sorry, urgent, yeah, urgent but not important category. So that's delegate. So there's the thing. So delegate, do, and plan. So you want to spend most of your time in that upper right quadrant, working on. That's how you prioritize your time and your work, thinking ahead, strategically thinking. So an example of that would that look like building a TAC plan. Me, I build a TAC plan because it's not urgent. No one's asking me to build a TAC plan. I don't have no deadline to meet, but oh my gosh, is it going to be important for the long-term future of the project? It's going to unlock tons of issues and unlock tons of lean thinking that I could produce and create an efficient um, project in the long term, but no one's banging on my door asking for me to do that. No one's banging on my door asking me to write a newsletter, but I spend time doing that. No one's banging on my door asking me to uh, plan 3 months ahead and do a pull plan session with my trade partners, but that is time well spent because I get value back in the long term. So you got to think about that in terms of your to-do list. Okay, so if your to-do list is like, does this item require my expertise? No. Okay, delegate. Boom. Does this require my expertise? Oh, yes, that absolutely does. That goes into the urgent, and I'm going to do that today at 2 o'clock. And until then, I'm going to be working on this thing that's going to have massive long-term benefits, which is the TAC plan. And I'm going to spend all my time doing this because if you keep doing that, if you keep spending your time in that quadrant, that upper right, important but not urgent, it's like compound interest. Your time and results will compound over time because you're just multiplying, value in the long term. So your day to day gets just better and better and better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. And I think you did a good job of breaking down in actual construction terms by mentioning tasks which you could use. And just to summarize, so if something's important and urgent, you do it. If something is important and not urgent, like Kyle said, you plan and schedule it. If something is not important but urgent, you have to delegate it. And if something is not important and not urgent, just eliminate it.
Eliminate it. Scrolling on social media, gossiping, delete. Stop doing it immediately. And if anyone's on your team's doing that, stop them from doing it immediately, you know? So we don't need to be doing anything that's not important and not urgent.
Yep, absolutely. Moving to the third framework, this is more of like a personality test, which is the DISC framework, which stands for dominance, influence, steadiness, and I never can pronounce this word, which is conscientiousness, if I got that right.
Conscientiousness. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So just walk me through what this behavioral test is and how it helps to kind of build relationships and communicate effectively.
This one's good. One of my favorites. DISC is a model that's been around for many, many years, right? And basically what it is, um, through studies and observations and tests, these folks, I don't remember who created it. I wrote about it, but it's in the newsletter. Um,
I think it's William Marson.
there it is. Okay, there you go. Thank you. Shout out to him. Basically, what they observed is everyone, generally speaking, falls into four main behavior types. Okay, the dominant behavior pattern, the uh, influence behavior pattern, conscientiousness, and supportiveness, steadiness. Okay, steadiness. So, and I've taken that. There's been some iterations on that, and I really love this one more because it really is visual. Is when you take somebody took it and applied a bird style to it. If you've heard it, that's way better. It makes way more sense. So dominant is eagle, um, influence is parrot, conscientiousness is owl, and steadiness is dove. Okay. And so actually, if you look at those birds' behavior types, they match the actual words themselves, and they give you like a little bit more of it. They kind of resonate a little deeper. So that's what I like to use. So the anyone that I meet, I kind of can immediately identify through a couple just getting to know them. I can say that person's an eagle, that person's a parrot, that person's an owl, that person's a dove. Now, when you recognize that, you know their tendencies because of the study of the disc and the framework. Dominant people or eagles are more quick to the point. They want fast answers. All they care about is going from A to B. Okay, they want quick. They don't have time for stories. They don't have time for this. They're watching the clock. They're just goal. They want to achieve. They want to hunt. They want to attack. That's where I fall into the eagle archetype or behavior pattern. And then everyone's got a secondary one too, and we'll get into that. um, the parrot or the influence type is the one who's very social, very enthusiastic, very, hey guys, let's get together and have a meeting and talk about it. Or they're just talking. They're very, that's their oxygen. That's how they breathe. Um, and there's no right or wrong pattern. You can be wildly successful on any of them. It's just about knowing who you are, who they are, and 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 leaning in to where you need to be so that we can communicate together and have success. And I'm going to get into some examples here. Um, the owl is the analytical type, the very spreadsheets, need to know the numbers. I need to know why. I have a lot of questions. Um, they're just very curious. They're very studious. They're very thorough. They're very they once they start something, they're going to go all in. They want to go deep. They want to get into the weeds. Um, so that's the owl. And then the dove, steadiness, is the very supportive type, the harmony. They want peace. They don't want to be in the spotlight. It's just, hey, I want to just support here. I want to stay in the background. I want a calm, quiet, stable environment. Um, these are the major tendencies, and they're just general speaking. I'm not painting everyone perfectly, but um, once you understand this, it's game changing, man. Um, because we have this in construction. Um, we have every single personality type in construction. In the field, you'll see the most eagles. Okay, you'll see the field, the superintendents, the foremans, your leaders are most often eagles. CEOs, founders, most often eagles. And it's because of their personality, their uh, their decisiveness, their mission to attack, their A to B, their time management. It's dialed. Um, but that doesn't mean you can't be a CEO and successful doing other things. I'm just telling you that that's the most common pattern. Um, in the architects and engineers that we deal with on the day-to-day basis, where do you think they fall? I'll tell you. Where do you think? What are your thoughts?
I think they would has to be either owl or dove. I feel like that's the balance. Yeah.
There you go. Owl. Owl. Those engineers are thorough. They want to sit back, get into it. They want to understand the why. These people are different. You can't go approach a superintendent and be very direct and say, hey, let me tell you this. I got to tell you straight up. You did this wrong. I need you to tighten up, man. And the superintendent will be like, Roger that. You got it, Kyle. No problem. I'll plumb up. Um, but the owl will be like, whoa, that was offensive. But really the leader was just not trying to be offensive, just trying to help you out. It's like, so you have to understand, okay, if I know he's an eagle, so I know he's going to be very decisive. He's not mad at me personally. He's just focused on getting shit done. And then the owl, a lot of estimators. We have estimators. A lot of estimators fall in the dove category. They want to be supportive. They like working out the corporate offices, in more stable environments. Nothing wrong with that. Estimators are extremely valuable, to an organization, and but different personality types. So you got to understand who you're speaking with, um, what what their tendencies are, what my tendencies are. And here's the key message. A little quote there, from the author of the book that developed the bird type. Match the moment, not the mirror. Okay, match the moment of, okay, what's the moment, who are you, who is me, and let me fine tune and lean into your direction. So if I'm talking to an owl, let me put my owl hat on, and okay, I can't come in super hot on this guy. Let me say, hey, let me lower my voice. Let me maybe just start with ease into, hey, how's your day going? Um, and let me ask, okay, what are your thoughts on this task? Where are you at with it? Um, what do you need support on? Whether, if I'm talking to an eagle, I can just get in there and say, hey, this got to get done by tomorrow. Let's go. Let's fire up. Come on, pick it up. Uh, Roger that. Okay. So, anyways, incredibly powerful once you understand this. Again, imprinted into my brain, um, and it's always fun. It's always fun using, and it's really cool now. At the beginning of my projects, we have a disc meeting. So we literally all get our discs, we pull out the packet, and we talk. Okay, what are you? Tell me about you so I understand you. How about you? And we go around, we share our personality types, we share our stories, we share our our weaknesses and strengths, and people learn about each other. And it's incredibly powerful for teamwork. So I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I love that breakdown specifically. Like when you're forming a project team, I think knowing strengths and weaknesses helps to maintain that cohesive team environment. So I love that. I got a last one for you, which is the R factor mindset, and you've got a small formula there, which is E plus R equals to O, which is events plus response equals to outcome. So talk to us about that.
Yeah. This was a framework I learned about at a self improvement seminar way back in the day, and it stuck with me forever. Um, Events plus response equals outcomes. So this is the way life works. Okay, this is the way projects work. This is the way it's like gravity, man. It's like this is how the world works. You jump up, you're going to come down. Okay? Events plus response equals outcomes. We are not in control of the events in our life, at least a lot of them. We're not in control of the events that happen on our project. We're not in control if there's a pandemic. We're not in control if your sub drops the ball, and somebody their project manager got fired and lost control of everything. Some of these things we're not responsible for. We're not in control of. But what we are in control of is the R, which is the response to those events. So the only way you can control your O, which is your outcome, is by controlling your response. Okay, so that it's a mindset shift here that we can take to our projects, we can take to our life, our relationships, and think, I'm in control of my R, so I am in control of my outcome. The events, they are what they are. Okay, and but I can control my R, and that's the R factor. Um, so it's something that stuck with me, and I love, love, love it.
Yeah. This was awesome, Kyle. And before I let you go, I have a quick rapid fire questions. It'll be super quick.
Yeah.
The first one, what's your book recommendation?
Oh, book recommendation. Um, for this audience, um, I think that we need to. I really want to recommend a couple things. Two books that
Hmm.
have changed in the past year. You probably heard of them, but I want to get them into more hands of people. I gift them a lot. How Big Things Get Done and Built to Fail. I think those are two important books for our industry to read right now. Um, we need some. I think our industry needs to make some changes as far as systemically on how we approach projects. And those ideas in those two books have been really helpful for me to kind of make some small pivots, the ones that I can. Um, and for leadership and stuff, I really like all of Patrick Lencioni's books, The Five Dysfunctions of a Team, The Ideal Team Player. Um, uh, there's a book about meetings that's really good. Um, yeah, and I also have a good book list on my newsletter as well. Maybe you could
Awesome.
link to that one. Um,
Absolutely.
there's a really good resource there for books.
Awesome. What's one advice you would give to your younger self?
Mm. Oh, that's good. Younger self. Uh, I would say I would teach myself patience quicker. Um, I think my younger self, I made a lot of mistakes um, earlier just out of lack of not being patient enough. Um, I had put a lot of pressure on myself to be like, and I think there's a lot of people that are like this. As a young man, just the media and society now, I put a lot of pressure on myself to be like this young, like super successful, um, like billionaire, like millionaire guy that had everything all figured out. But looking back, I wouldn't have done that. I thankfully pulled out of that mindset. Um, but I made a lot of mistakes from operating out of that mindset. So I would take the pressure off and just
Just
go at my
enjoy.
own pace and just really listen less to what others thought and what others think or whatever I believe them to think. And I would just be more patient and just focus on my lane.
Yeah, that's a good advice. Um, Next one I have is one productivity hack that you like.
Oh, productivity hack. Uh, I think the Minto pyramid principle is really one of my favorites, and it's a communication productivity hack. It's the basic idea is structuring your communication to where you lead with the answer. Okay. So you're putting the bottom line, bottom takeaway up front, right at the beginning of your either verbal or written communication. And then you break it down with structuring good, solid supporting ideas, and then if they want more, you can share data and stories that support your arguments. That's the best hack for communication in our industry, in my opinion. It's clear, it's concise, it gets people what they need fast, and you end up delivering a better message. Okay. So
Yeah.
I like to structure pretty much everything with that. Another one is the 4 bullet update. I wish I knew this one sooner. The 4 bullet update is something really good, especially for people and young people entering the industry. It's a great way to just immediately stand out as a leader. It's like 4 bullet. Here's what you asked me to do.
Hmm.
Here's what I did is the next one. So here's what you asked me to do is showing your colleagues social intelligence awareness. Here's what you asked me
Yeah.
to do. Okay. Next bullet point is here's what I did. That shows your colleagues, hey, this I can take ownership. The
Yeah.
third bullet point is here was some problems and challenges. So you're doing some
Hmm.
critical thinking, showing your colleagues you can do critical thinking. And then the last fourth bullet point is if I were given more time, here's what I would recommend do or maybe rethink next
Yeah.
time. And that shows your
Yeah.
colleagues that you have strategic thinking. So you're
Yeah.
showing in just 4 quick bullet points whenever you're asked to do something or reporting out to something. Here's what you did. Here's what you asked me. Here's what I did. Here's the risks. Here's what I would do next time.
Awesome. I like this one. And I was talking with Micah from Beyond Deadlines, and he kind of gave a similar framework in terms of schedule. Like when he's reporting to a senior leadership, like, hey, here we are right now. Here's where we are tracking. Here's if we continue on the same path. Here's a list of issues, and here's a list of mitigation strategies. Because at that level, it's like, hey, it's either information and or decision, and you have to be very clear at what you're asking the senior leadership for. So I love that
Ooh,
framework a
I
lot.
like that. I
Yeah.
like that one.
The last one that I have is one skill that you need to be focused on to be a high achiever.
Mm, um,
And maybe it's not one skill, but
it's a lot of skills. Um, leadership,
mm,
leadership, leadership, because you need to lead through others. And you need to accomplish, you can't do everything yourself. You need to accomplish things through others. You need to get people to follow you. You need to be influential. Um, and leadership is the most valuable skill I think there is. Yeah,
Yep. Thank you so much, Kyle. I think I personally learned a lot, and I hope listeners also take a lot from this as well. Again, thank you so much for your time.
you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
This was a great conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to Constructing Tomorrow. I hope this episode provided valuable insights and tips. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and drop a review or a comment. Until next time, keep building and stay curious.